American TV star Kim Kardashian's new crime podcast had claimed #1 podcast position on Spotify's charts, as Meghan Markle's series goes down to 4th place. Speaking to GB News, royal expert Kingsley Schofield had discussed the Duchess of Sussex's popularity in the US, claiming that Meghan's podcast was being beaten by Kim Kardashian in the Spotify charts. As the 41-year-old reality star's original podcast, titled Kim Kardashian's The System, the case of Kevin Keith is available to listen to worldwide. However, the series looks into the case of the Ohio man after he was sentenced to death for committing a triple murder before former Governor Ted Strickland had commuted his sentence to life without parole in 2010. Only 2 episodes have been released since the launch of the podcast on Monday, October 3rd, but a huge following, as she has 331 million Instagram followers, has helped usurp the longtime fan favorite, The Joe Rogan Experience, from the top spot. Kardashian had said that if you look at the number of the podcast, that very first episode, it blew up. And I think people were very curious. But lately, Kim Kardashian's beating her on the Spotify charts, as there is less and less interest in her. Ms. Schofield had said that the American media have noticed the redirection in the narrative, adding that they are very surprised that she is complaining less. Because Meghan's podcast focuses on various archetypes that affect women, the 41-year-old is joined by various guests each week to explore the personal experiences, as there are expected to be at least a dozen episodes. So why Kim Kardashian has an edge over Meghan Markle in the podcast popularity? Since its launch on October 3rd, Kardashian's Spotify original podcast, titled Kim Kardashian's The System, the case of Kevin Keith, has overtaken Meghan's archetypes in the US Spotify top podcast charts. As Archetypes had launched on August 23rd, and after 48 hours, toppled the Spotify's long-standing #1 original podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, in both the US and the UK charts. Rogan was back at the top after the release of the new episode, with Archetypes remaining in the top 5 with each subsequent episode. But what is it that is pushing listeners to tune in to Kardashian's podcast project over Meghan's? As Newsweek spoke to the 2 industry experts to find out. Archetypes and The System are 2 very different podcasts in terms of content. As Archetypes is intended to be a voice for social commentary on the experiences of women in today's society, to dissect, explore, and subvert the labels that try to hold women back. As in each episode, Meghan has a celebrity guest who is in past episodes have included Serena Williams, Mindy Kaling, and discussing one particular label. But Kardashian's The System is distinctly different in that it is limited to 8-part series that provides an in-depth exploration of the legal case of Kevin Keith, a man convicted of a triple homicide in 1994. Next, where Kardashian's podcast has a direct advantage over Meghan's, according to the experts, is its genre. The System falls under the widely popular umbrella of true crime, while Archetypes is listened under society and culture. The interesting thing about Kardashian's podcast is the original big explosion in the podcasting game at the end of 2014, when Serial came out, which is a true crime podcast, Matthew Pacey, CEO of the podcast consultant, told Newsweek. Lastly, aside from the content and genre, another key factor is drawing in the podcast audience is the host. There is also a difference in hosting styles between Kardashian and Meghan in the eyes of the audience. King had said that Kardashian has an openness about her, whereas Meghan has had to be more guarded.